GPT 5.4 just launched and the hype is crazy. But should you actually care? I'm the director of AI and ML at a VC-funded startup, and I use Claude Code and Codex at least 8 hours a day, every single day. In this video, I'm going to review what OpenAI is saying about GPT 5.4, how people with early access have responded to GPT 5.4, and how my own experience with GPT 5.4 is going to change how I do agentic coding. So the first thing that stuck out in the GPT 5.4 launch post is that it's the first general purpose model with native computer use capabilities. So a lot of you are interested in tools like OpenClaw, which I use, and I use on a VPS. But in fact, having a physical computer is useful because with a physical computer on which OpenClaw is installed, it's able to navigate on websites and be able to do things with desktop applications that OpenClaw installed on a VPS can't do. And what OpenAI is claiming, who are now the owners or sponsors of OpenClaw since they purchased the rights to it from Pete Steinberger, is that this is a general purpose model which natively comes with computer use capabilities. And so one thing that I'm going to want to see is how is this model going to be practically as an improvement in the context of OpenClaw, but also all sorts of other applications that are now unlocked by just having this claim of improved computer use ability. The second thing that really stuck out to me is this introduction of tool search, which allows models to work efficiently when given many tools. If you use skills or MCPs, one of the irritating things that you may encounter is that sometimes you'll have similarly defined skills, or if you just have a lot of skills, the performance of coding agents at selecting the right skill goes down. And the same thing happens with these tool definitions. If all the tool definitions are included in the prompt upfront, that's costly in terms of number of tokens, and it's going to make it harder to have the model find the right tool. Now, GPT 5.4 has this tool search capability, which is going to make the whole process of getting the right tool faster and cheaper, and lets you now work with a much larger set of tools. The third really cool change here is experimental support for a 1 million context window. So the standard context window in Codex is 272,000 tokens, which is quite a lot. Now, that might even be doubled. Now, what happens if you use, or rather quadrupled? What happens if you use that is that you're going to use 2 times the usage. But what you can do with a 1 million context window is quite a lot. You can probably, for a lot of you, keep working for an entire day or two without having to worry about compaction, Ralph loops, or anything like that. So I'm really excited to experiment with this 1 million context window. Now that's what OpenAI is saying, but they always say stuff. So what are the early adopters saying? The people that I actually trust, who I listen to about AI, what are these people saying about GPT 5.4? So this is Dan Schipper, the CEO of the organization Every, which creates great content on agentic coding. Says OpenAI is back in the coding race. This is beating Codex 5.3 and Opus 4.6 in head-to-head tests. And for you OpenClawers, it's become his go-to model in OpenClaw. Though he does note there are trade-offs. It has a tendency to expand the task beyond what he asked for, and sometimes completes tasks in obviously wrong ways. But it's still his new daily driver, and they've got a longer form article where they talk about how they're tending to reach a lot more for 5.4 than either Anthropic's models or Codex 5.3. Wade Foster is the CEO of Zapier, one of the sort of biggest low-code automation tools. And he's seeing that GPT 5.4 is a lot more persistent than prior models, and is also noting that this 1 million context window that I just mentioned is huge. But kind of similarly to Dan Schipper, he's noticing that there's kind of an over-eagerness And so planning is still useful. That's something I've brought up in many videos, that making a plan has a big effect on the quality that you get out with a model. But with each model release, you kind of have to experiment and see how much your old practices are still relevant. One last example is from CodeRabbit, one of the premier code review tools, who are noticing that it's assertive in flagging potential issues while improving recall, meaning the proportion of real issues that are actually caught, by 10%, which is a pretty big increase. Says it has an authoritative tone resembling that of a senior engineer, though I kind of felt like 5.3 also had that. That doesn't really seem different from 5.3. This is interesting that it uses tokens more efficiently. I'd hope so with the new model release. Lastly, here we've got Sam Altman's post, and he put up one of these tables which shows along various benchmarks the improvements over earlier iterations of the model, and also compared to his competitors, Opus 4.6 and Gemini 3.1 Pro. I basically pay almost no attention to these kinds of eval graphs, because for me, the only eval that matters is how is this model doing for me. So I want to describe a little bit my early impression of using GPT 5.4 for coding, for YouTube script writing, and for web research tasks, such as looking up relevant tweets, articles, etc., to help inform this exact video that I'm making. So first, on coding, I'm noticing an improvement. With coding, you have to just try it out for yourself and see how its behavior changes. So I have a side project where I'm automating the creation of local newsletters. I used to create a lot of content about this. If you see my old videos, you'll see a lot of videos about local media automation. And I don't do that much of that anymore, but I have this side project that I keep working on. And using GPT 5.4 on it, I was noticing it making some generalizations, which corresponds to what Dan Schipper and the CodeRabbit people were saying, but which were actually good generalizations and made sense and improved the quality of some scraping infrastructure that I had set up. So I was pretty happy with that. I also, for any YouTube video I make, I have a set of skills like Codex/Claude skills that I've created, and then I'll use Claude Code or Codex to actually help me script a video in my voice, using my preferences, using certain ideas that I have of what makes a good title, a good thumbnail, etc. And I'm noticing a marginal improvement in just the quality of the results that I'm getting out. In any one of my videos, it's never fully written with AI. I really dislike YouTubers who do that, but every video is assisted with AI. So I'll use it to do some ancillary research. I'll often write a lot of the video either by hand or using a speech-to-text tool called Wispr Flow. But what I just noticed is that the quality of the thinking that was coming out in terms of the fidelity of the script written to the ideas that I expressed in the skill of how a video should be formed was just much closer. Now, I don't have a Aniket YouTube Val benchmark that I can show you, but this is what you have to do when you're looking at a new model. With your own sort of coding practices and your skills, every single time a new model comes out, you'll have to take a look and decide which pieces of the skill are just no longer needed because this new model has made it irrelevant by just being better and not needing so much explicit instruction. And so you're probably going to notice that if you decide to use GPT 5.4. So let's get back to the money question now. Almost all my videos are about Claude Code, and I was using Claude Code literally since the day it came out, before it was tied to a Claude Max subscription, and you just had to pay for it by API. So should you switch over to Codex and GPT 5.4 instead of Claude Code? So here's the reality. I have been using Codex for 85% of my coding work, probably for the last month. Even though all my videos right now are about Claude Code, that's kind of a lagging indicator because I just had scripts written and videos already produced that I sort of put out a little bit later, but don't reflect my actual current practices. I had already switched over primarily to Codex even when 5.3 came out, because I've found it since that point, maybe even since 5.2, to be significantly better than Opus, either 4.5 or later 4.6. The place where I'll use Claude Code a lot is for certain creative tasks, and then also for anything with front-end design. I see Claude Code as being a lot better, or rather Opus as being a lot better for front-end design and creating good web UIs. But that's something that I'm going to have to test again, because if it really is the case that Codex is better even for front-end design, hey, maybe I have to cancel my Claude Code subscription. But if I was recommending one to you guys who are more budget constrained, I have a big AI budget because I'm using it for all sorts of things to make money in my position as director of AI and ML, for making these YouTube videos, and for creating training content for both people who want to learn AI tools and economists who want to get up to speed with AI. For all that stuff, I have a big AI budget. But if I was suggesting to you to just have one subscription, you have $20 a month and you can't pay any more, I would definitely suggest the Codex, or rather the ChatGPT subscription. And if you have a $200 a month budget, right now, I would still just suggest getting the $200 a month ChatGPT subscription and just putting it on GPT 5.4 extra high and letting it rip all the time. So hope this video was helpful. If you want to get a bunch of Claude Code and Codex tutorials, which are going to be coming down the line, I'm going to make a lot more Codex content, then check out my website, AI MBA, where I have a ton of tutorials all about all aspects of agentic coding. Also, if you're interested in having a more one-on-one mentorship with me to make money with Claude Code or Codex, I've got information down in the description below on how we can work together. So until next time, I'll see you guys soon. Peace.